Hello, my name is Maudlin. I'm a mad scientist of fashion, and I believe that every aesthetic, especially made up ones, should have their own culture associated with them. Music, movies, literature, poetry. Goth, as they say, is a music-based subculture. And I say, why not make all of the other subcultures music-based too? There are goth movies. There's goth poetry, that's for sure. Goth literature. Let's expand. I want people who are into goblincore to curate goblincore literature, goblincore poetry. I want people who drip themselves in fur and do the mob wife thing to have mob wife related poetry, mob wife literature. I think the elements we are missing from fashion subcultures today are the cultural touchstones that go with them. Even if said aesthetic, quote unquote, was made up 5 minutes ago. And that's what I do. I make up aesthetics all the time for my own fun and amusement. Today I am dressed in the aesthetic that I call Bimbazar. It's basically like if you took Bimbocore and Weirdcore and they had a baby and she was beautiful and grotesque. So I feel that it is my duty as the creator of Bimbazar to make some suggestions about how to steep yourself in the culture that I, as an artist, associate with this aesthetic I made up for my own amusement. I will be getting into books, poetry, music, and movies, all in separate videos. Today we're going to talk about books. Books that I would consider to fit very well into the aesthetic parameters of Bimbazar. Now let me tell you a little bit about the aesthetic parameters. Here's the outfit I'm wearing today that sums up pretty well what we're going for. Something really feminine, quote unquote, a little slutty, lots of pink, and combined with the bizarre maximalism that is Weirdcore. Here are a couple of more examples for you to kind of get an idea of the fashion side of this aesthetic, and now I'm going to go into the literature side. What would a bizarro bimbo pick up and read? Well, being one, I can tell you I went around my room and picked books off the shelves that I think perfectly encapsulate the vibes of this particular aesthetic. Maybe I'm crazy to create a reading list for an aesthetic that only I participate in, but I don't think I am. I think having cultural touchstones to surround yourself with and get familiarized with the milieu that is Bimbazar will help more people maybe be able to start sprinkling a little bit of bizarro bimbo into their daily wardrobe. So without further ado, let's get into books in my room that I would consider Bimbazar. I am going to start off very strong. This book, Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs, is kind of a building block in my mind for what this aesthetic is supposed to be. Now I know that sounds insane. There's a lot of crazy shit in this book. This book is a fever dream and a half. A lot of crazy shit happens. Legend says you can read it in any order and it'll sort of still make sense. Legend also says that William S. Burroughs wrote it completely high on heroin and, God knows what else. Just a classic 60s beat 8-ball. He was high out of his mind when he wrote this. Allen Ginsberg comes to Morocco after his bender and says, hey Billy, what you got there? And it's a manuscript, and the manuscript was Naked Lunch. Apparently he had no memory of writing it. Who knows if that's true? The Beat generation really likes to legendize itself. What is this book about? A guy who does heroin. And sometimes the guy who I'm talking about changes, and this guy, several different guys meet other guys, and they are all guys in this sort of fictional city backdrop that might be Morocco, might be New York City, who knows. The point is, this book is insane. The point is, this book is very weird. The point is, this book is very sexual in nature. A lot of deviant sexuality things are described in this book. This is the book of a girl like me who likes weird shit and knows how to party. Was William S. Burroughs a good guy? Probably not. Everything you've heard about him might be true, and it might not be true. But this book, I think, is a seminal text for this particular aesthetic because it is just my personal building block for the reading list of weird sluts. Next up, we've got another kind of weird fiction book. This is Perdido Street Station by China Mieville. Now this one is kind of a long, winding tale that also takes place in a made-up city called New Crobuzon. Basically, the book kind of starts out with a character who is a scientist. He's living in this crazy city where there are a lot of different sentient races, so to speak, so not everybody is just plain old human. Some people are bug people, some people are frog people, some people are strange little gremlin sort of creatures. So there's this kind of like a sci-fi and fantasy merger. I don't want to spoil too much about this book because just letting it unfold in front of your eyes is a real pleasure. But again, a lot of deviant sort of sexuality going on in this one. Deviant in a good way. Deviant is not a negative pejorative in this context. Isaac, our scientist hero, has a girlfriend and she is an insect woman. How do I explain this? Her head is an insect and the rest of her body is like a woman's body. She's from a race called the Khepris. That was like a reference to this sort of scarab deity of ancient Egypt. So this book is chock full of bizarre shit, and truly, at its core, it's for the sluts. Next up, this is nonfiction. This is a collection of essays written by the journalist Chuck Klosterman. Chuck Klosterman is now an ethicist, which is basically he talks about the ethics of various situations. He also writes hypothetical questions that are very fun to ponder over. But this essay is really about popular culture, the stranger side of popular culture, and I mean the title is kind of perfect for exactly what I'm trying to get at with this aesthetics. It's just this sort of broad look at postmodern America. There's an essay about Pamela Anderson and She's One of Us. There's an essay about internet porn, all that sort of stuff. This was a classic when it came out. Blew my mind. Love, love, love. Perfect book. This next one is a middle school classic. I read this when I was in middle school and it changed my life. It's called Everybody Hurts. It's basically a guide to being emo slash hipster slash indie kid. So it's got a lot of really delightful kind of graphics of different haircuts that you can have as an alt indie kid in the early 2000s. You know, I think I got this book in 2007, so it was just kind of like a perfect bomb that was dropped on the fashion world that was all about observations of fashion things that the authors had seen. So there's emo websites, emo films, emo books. This in itself is exactly what I'm trying to do with this series, where it kind of ties culture to fashion subculture. But I think beautiful, wonderful, bizarro bimbos could really use some of the things in here, despite it being strictly emo, indie, hipster, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of good information to be had if you're kind of doing a throwback to Y2K era fashion. Next up, this is the Reservoir Dogs screenplay. I don't know really if I have to say too much about this, but it's steeped in homoeroticism. It's a little raunchy if you use your imagination, and I think that is perfect for girls like us. Next up, nonfiction, in fact, a reference book. This is the Dictionary of Russian Slang. Now, I took Russian when I was in college. I took it for 4.5 years. I was fluent enough that I could write essays and have conversations with people about topics other than the bathroom. I've lost a lot of my Russian skills, but sometimes I like to leaf through this to learn how to say dirty, disgusting, horrifying things in Russian, how to call someone a dirty whore, all of the euphemisms for penises. It's all in here, and I think this is a key, crucial type of book for the polyglot slut. Thank you. Okay, this is a book from my childhood. I used to look at this in awe when I was about 6 or 7. It is called Tokyo Style, and it's basically just picture upon picture upon picture of different cute, strange little apartments in Tokyo. And it's just mesmerizing. And again, because it's kind of Y2K, it kind of ties into the bimbo core kind of thing that I'm going for here, along with this kind of high art maximalism that we're trying to get into. There's just some really delightfully strange art installations in people's homes in Tokyo. Tokyo style. I really love this book. Maybe you can find it on eBay. I'm not really sure, but I'm just blessed that this was something I was able to look through because it really sparked my imagination when I was younger. Next up, this is this is Naked by David Sedaris. My mom has had this for a long time, and when I was a kid, I got a hold of it and scribbled all over the cover. Bravo for me, because when I read it later, way later in life, I was like, this is brilliant. David Sedaris has a lot of really fun, interesting things to talk about, especially around sexuality and the bizarre. He tells some really wacky, wild stories in this. Can't recommend enough. Next up, another nonfiction and in fact reference book. This is Generation T, 108 Ways to Transform a T-Shirt. This is all about different ways you can take ratty old t-shirts and turn them into something new. I got this on eBay for $5, and I haven't quite done one of the crafts in here, but it does have all of these really cool things that you can do to a t-shirt, which is exactly the kind of thing that a Bizarro Bimbo would do. Next up, I've got the Found Magazine Compendium. This is the second of the best lost, tossed, and forgotten items from around the world. This is a really fun thing because it was, again, this kind of phenomenon that happened in the early 2000s as just this guy started a website for people to send scans or copies or the actual note of found notes and found ephemera that people would just see on the street or crammed inside of a dresser that they got from the thrift store and that kind of thing. And if it was noteworthy enough, it would be put on the website. And let me tell you, a lot of these are wild, wacky, weird, and sometimes sexually deviant, but it's the thing of picking something disgusting off the ground and sending it to a website that just resonates so heavily with me and this particular aesthetic. I loved Found Magazine, and I loved the website, and I always tried to send things into the website, but nothing ever made it because what I was sending them were middle school notes that were passed around at my school, so I guess not very interesting to adult readers of Found Magazine, but I think I'll do a show and tell of some of those notes later in another video. Next up, we've got the Rocky Horror Picture Show book. Of course, this is kind of like the screenplay, the things you scream out during the screenplay. All of these different facts and trivia and fun pictures and behind the scenes, all of the goings on the set of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Rocky Horror Picture Show, for obvious reasons, is on the list of Bim Bizarre movies. And this book I found in a used bookstore and I was thrilled. It had a poster with it and everything. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. This is another example of what the Found Magazine issue would look like. They circulated these maybe into 2011, 2013, somewhere in there. I don't know if you're able to buy these still or if they still make them, but this is number 6 of the Found Magazine editions. Yeah, love Found Magazine. Oh, and look at me, I saved the best for last. This is one of my most cherished possessions. This is the Playboy cartoon album. Now you may wonder why someone such as myself, who is maybe not so nicely depicted in some of these cartoons, would want to possess such a thing. And I'll tell you, because the art is fantastic, and I have this sort of ironic detachment I often employ in the face of misogyny, and, you know, the stuff in here is so grotesque, so piggish, so old school and stupid that it's almost misogyny kitsch, if that makes sense. So I am able to pretty much divorce myself from any kind of offendedness I might get from something, because it's the guy who drew it's dead. Let me find a picture that I can show you that won't get me flagged. Okay, so this is a good one. Put that other, okay. So this is a good one. It's this gorgeous lady and this kind of schlubby guy in the middle of the woods, and he's carving their initials on a tree, and she says, "Say, is that all you got me out here in the woods for?" I mean, it's just so stupid. I mean, come on. This is a classic. Two dames talking. They're on a couch, and the one on the couch says, "And it converts to a full-size bed when Arthur presses me in a certain place." Wink. You know, it's so stupid. Some of the cartoons are directed at men. This is all of the things men do to their navel. They gaze at it, they draw on it. It's just like completely bizarre graphics are going on in here. One more. This lady, she's hiding under the bed, and her husband says, "This is a hell of a time to start playing hard to get." So this book is bizarre graphics, bizarre humor, and sexy broads. I mean, that's what this aesthetic is about. So, find yourself a beat-up Playboy cartoon compendium today and get inspiration from all of the cute little cartoon girls. I love kitsch, I love weird, I love sexy things, I love deviant, weird, disgusting, grotesque little things. So these were my books that I think really scratch this particular itch of I'm weird and I know how to party. Next installment of this will be poetry. Bimbo poetry, if you can imagine such a thing. You're gonna flip your lid when I tell you about it. If you've been following me for a while, you may be a little surprised that I'm doing a Bimbazar look again. I've been kind of harping on and on that I'm going to do a Desperately Seeking Susan tribute. That is what this bustier is intended for, is to be the bustier that Madonna wears in Desperately Seeking Susan of 1985. I am working so hard on this tribute, but I have run out of funds. I've run out of steam, chutzpah, and inspiration, so I'm just putting it on the back burner for a little bit. I've done little teasers of what it's maybe gonna look like on my TikTok, on my YouTube shorts, so go check that out if you're curious. Stay tuned, it's coming sometime. If you can think of a book that reminds you of weird bimbos, just shout it out in the comments. I'm always so curious to hear from you, and until next time, bye!